In this series, I'm exploring the Flinders Ranges located in South Australia. Last night I camped at Brachine East Gorge and was greeted by the most amazing sunrise. Oh, good morning guys. It's 7:30 in the morning and I've just packed up camp. I was camping at Brachine Gorge and you can see some of that behind me. The gorge eventually opens up into this nice flat river and I'm up here on the river bank. Last night was really quite windy, and the thing that I don't like about having to book a campsite in a campground or in a national park for that matter is you don't know what you're going to get. And so the guy at the information centre couldn't tell me anything about the campsite, so I just went for the one that was $35 instead of $24. I still don't know why it was $35, but I thought, you know, $10 extra, it might be a better campsite. And the only reason I can think of for paying $10 more is it's a little bit closer to the toilet at the background there. But as a consequence, campsite number 9, which was this one here, it is really quite exposed. So all the wind comes up out of the gorge in this direction. It's windy right now as well, and all the way until very late last night it was quite windy. So windy in fact that I decided not to do a proper dinner. I just sat outside the back of the car trying to be sheltered from the wind by the car itself, and I just made up some beans and rice out of a can. I invented a recipe, it was tasty. But the wind died down late last night, and then throughout the night I think it was fine. And I woke at about 4:30 and it was freezing cold, and then the wind picked up again. So hopefully today won't be as windy as it was last night. I woke to some beautiful bird calls and watched the sunrise, and now that the sun is behind the clouds, the rocks are a different colour yet again. It's really quite beautiful. So today we're going to do some more exploring. I'm just going to go and check out the map and work out which direction to go in. Alright, just setting off from camp. I can't believe how cold it got last night. I wasn't expecting that. It's now 8 o'clock in the morning and it's 9 degrees, and it's warmed up a fair bit. So it must have been maybe 6 degrees last night. So I'm trying to find the track to go to... Apologies for the pronunciation. Arkaroola Cultural Site. I don't know which direction that is yet. I'm still waiting for my Emu Explorer to get some GPS signal. I'm heading back down the gorge before veering off on a different track. It is a little bit overcast, but it is a beautiful day for a drive. This is the Bunyeroo Valley. Interesting story about this place. About 600 million years ago, a 4-kilometre meteorite hit the Earth about 300 kilometres west of here, creating a 30-kilometre wide impact crater. And it scattered rocks in all directions, including this valley floor. And there's a whole lot of loose rocks here. Now, 280 million years ago, the sea levels rapidly rose and covered that layer of rock with soft clay and silt. Eventually the hills were pushed up and the sea levels dropped. And you can see the lines in those hills there in the distance. There's one particular line which used to be the flat valley floor, which was now pushed up, and it's a curved line, and that line contains meteorite fragments. And that is how they know exactly how old this valley is. And thanks to how stable Australia is geologically, you can find this sort of thing everywhere. It's really quite amazing. I'm now heading to a place that is not shown on this map. There's some old ruins near the border of the national park that's well worth a visit. Okay, so there's a quick 100-metre walk to a ruined homestead. John Hayward was the first pastoralist to arrive in the region. He set up a farm in 1851 and stocked it with 3,300 sheep. He had a harsh life, which was made even harder, he complained, by Aborigines who routinely stole his sheep, by wild dogs that slaughtered lambs, and by shepherds who were the dregs of the colony. The profits were small and in some years nil. Despite this, when he returned to England 11 years later, he had made a fortune of £40,000. Well, I'm sitting on the border of the Flinders Ranges National Park. There's a barbed wire fence going in that direction, underneath me, all the way down there. Let's climb down here. There's a ladder permanently installed for climbing the fence, and you can walk up the track going to the top of the hill and wherever that goes beyond. There's a sign declaring the Flinders Ranges National Park, and it is absolutely beautiful. The Flinders Ranges is an amazing place to come if you're interested in geology and the history of the planet, and I've found a very special place. So what we see behind me, you can see these 3 or 4 layers of rock separated by a bit of space. Now what that is layers of limestone and silt, and limestone and silt, and limestone and silt. And these were formed 630 million years ago when this environment was a lagoon, which was subject to drying and then filling up with water again, drying, filling up with water again, and these layers would be laid down. I'll see if I can find a good example of what I want to show you. Okay, do you want to see something really cool? Look at this. So these rocks here, you can see this rough surface, and it almost looks pockmarked. It's just a whole bunch of fine textured lines. Now if I show you a close-up so you can see exactly what that is. Now those little dark fragments, they are called algal flakes, and they were laid down by the earliest forms of life on the planet, known as cyanobacteria. This stretches back to 3,500 million years ago, And the way that it happened is the bacteria formed a layer on top of the rock, and then some silt was laid down over the top of it. So then the bacteria had to grow upwards to try and get some sunlight again, and then some more silt was laid down, and then they grew upwards again to try and get some more sunlight, and that sort of developed like that. And so when they grew up towards the sunlight, that left a imprint, and you can basically see all these little flakes in the rock. That is direct evidence of the oldest life on the planet, cyanobacteria. 3.5 billion years ago, life. So the planet is 4.5 billion years old, and life started as soon as it could about 3.5 billion years ago. So there you go, the earliest evidence of life on the planet, cyanobacteria. See, rocks are cool when you know what you're looking at. I absolutely love it.
Now it's time to hit the road. I've got a long way to go today. I'm heading north towards the mining town of Blinman. Following Blinman, I will be heading east and then continuing north towards Arkaroola.
So we've now left the Flinders Ranges National Park, but we are still in the Flinders Ranges, and I've just pulled off the main road, and up ahead is something known as the Great Wall of China. And it's basically a mountain with a bit of a rock outcropping on the top, kind of like a bluff, and it really does look like a man-made stone wall.
This is completely unexpected. It definitely looks like the Great Wall of China. In the distance is Flinders Ranges National Park. Something else that was unexpected was just how pretty the countryside was. And this didn't become evident until I reviewed the drone footage. Just look at that. once again, the Flinders Ranges never ceases to amaze.
So I've just left the town of Blinman. Now Blinman is a really interesting little town. Its population ranges from 17 to 27, and the town doesn't actually have a local council. So that means that they'd have to pay land rate. At the same time, they don't get provided with electricity or water or sewerage, and nobody takes their rubbish away. But the community look after themselves, and they want to keep it like that. And so they basically manage themselves. Now, the one thing that keeps the town going is tourism, but it's such a tiny town. There's nothing. There's a pub and a little shop that sells meat pies and drinks. So what they've done is 1 kilometre outside the town is an old disused copper mine, and they've basically bought the rights to the copper mine for $100,000. They've made it safe and they've opened it up to tourism, and they do guided tours several times a day through the mine. Now I've just taken that tour and it was really, really interesting, but it was dark and I couldn't really film in a darkened tunnel. But there's 27 levels of tunnels that go underground. It is a fascinating story. The copper mine was discovered by a one-legged shepherd called Blinman, and he decided that he wanted to buy the rights. He recognized that there was copper. He spotted some rocks and he spotted the copper seam running through the rocks, and he realized at once what it was. It was on his property. So he wanted to buy the rights to the copper mine, but back then it cost a mining license cost £10, and £10 was way more than a shepherd would earn in a whole year. So he found 3 other people, and they came to an agreement that they would all chip in, and together they would buy the £10 mining license. And they did that. And then they did absolutely nothing. They just kept on doing whatever they do. The shepherd kept on shepherding, and the other guys kept on doing whatever their regular jobs were. And they just sat on the mine for 2 years. And 2 years later, they thought, okay, the time is right to sell the shares in the mine. And they sold it for £6,000. So they became fantastically wealthy. And then the company that bought the mine then went on to mine about 250,000 tons of copper out of the mine. They have 27 levels of tunnels under the ground. It was really amazing. The miners are basically working in pitch black conditions with just candles and pickaxes, and it was just, yeah, fantastic. So if you're in the area, definitely come and do the tour of the mine, because it's an eye-opener. So now I'm heading off to a place called Arkaroola. Once again, I haven't been here before, not sure what to expect, but I'm told it's really nice. I'm really enjoying today's drive. Well, the countryside is getting rougher and more rugged as we progress towards Arkaroola. We've got 121 kilometers to go in that direction, and everything looks a lot drier. And one thing that hasn't changed is the wind. It's very, very windy. I don't know where I'm going to camp tonight. No idea. I'll see what I can find when I get there. It's now 2:45, so I should be there in about a little bit over an hour. So I have a feeling that whatever camping spot I find tonight is going to be rather dusty. It's quite a windy day today, as was yesterday, and partly because there's no large obstacles to stop the wind, there's no big trees, it's windy. It's very windy. So there's a mountain range to my left, and it goes all the way around to about that direction. And apart from that, behind me, it's completely flat. To either side, completely flat. That's starting to look more like the South Australia that I'm used to. Dead flat. No trees, no mountains, nothing to block the wind, and just dry, dusty, windy, rugged terrain. I love it. Wow, it's really windy. Just want to have a look at the other side of this small hill here, because from the other side it looked like a very nicely erected stone wall, but of course it's all natural.
That stone wall is this ridge right here we can see from the satellite view.
That is, look at that. It's like as if some stonemason came along one day and just decided to start building a wall here. But that is all natural. Right, I'm going to get out of here before I encounter any snakes. I'm keeping my eyes on the ground, making sure that I'm not going to step on any snakes or other creatures that might want to kill me. Right. Look at that. Completely flat as a pancake. The one thing I love about driving in Central Australia is the wide open spaces and the big skies. It's often called big sky country because you can see from horizon to horizon in every direction is just flat as a pancake, and it just makes you feel tiny in a huge landscape. But it wasn't always the case. So the Flinders Ranges, just like most mountain ranges in Australia, used to be a lot bigger many millions of years ago. But just like most mountain ranges in Australia, the Flinders Ranges is made of sedimentary rock, and that erodes away a lot quicker than other harder types of rock. So the highest peak in Australia is Mount Kosciuszko, that's 2,228 metres. And the highest peak in the Flinders Ranges is St Mary's Peak, and that's 1,171 metres. So on a global scale, it's nothing really. But in terms of what we have here in Australia, yeah, that's not so bad. And to think that they are still eroding away, they will probably not be here in a couple of million years' time. So come and see them while you can.
Emu with a whole bunch of little baby emus. And this is a showdown between emu versus four-wheel drive. Okay, I'm not going to threaten you. Come on, move out of the way. 8 little baby emus and a mother emu. Look at them. Oh wow, and she's coming towards the car because she thinks that I'm going to threaten her family. Look at him run. Oh wow. I had to be quick. I had to grab the first camera I had at hand. So here we go. Okay, so up ahead are the Gammon Ranges, and I have just entered the Gammon Ranges National Park. Now it's 4 o'clock, and I think I'm not going to make it to Arkaroola today, so I might try and turn left somewhere and find a campground in the national park itself. According to my maps, I can see that if I go left, then eventually I'll get to a picnic site, and then there's 2 campgrounds. So I'm trying to get to one of those 2 campgrounds. I'm now looking for a place to camp for the night. Now, I'm in the national park, and as with all national parks, you need to pay an entry fee, and if you're going to camp at the national park, then you need to book a spot at a particular camping site. So I found the national park headquarters just a few kilometers back, and I went in there, and the place was deserted. Not a soul around. Outside there was a notice board with some maps and a box that you could put completed application forms in, but there were no forms, nothing. And then a poster said you need to book online. Well, there's no mobile phone reception, so I can't book online. So I'm just going to go try my luck. I'm going to go and have a look at the first campsite, and if I don't like the look of that, then the next one isn't going to be too much further on. And then if I don't like the look of that, then as a last resort, I'm going to continue heading on into Arkaroola, which is about 30 kilometers away. So we'll see how things go. Oh my god, the corrugations! Oh, that's really bad. You would think that the National Park office would at least have mobile phone coverage or a Wi-Fi hotspot you could connect to, so that you could book a campsite. Wow, this is... I'm now driving on a very, very rocky riverbed. And I really should let the tyres down for this bit, but oh well, I can't be bothered. But if the terrain is more of the same, I will let the tyres down. So this is the Gammon Ranges Gorge. Okay, the first campground is up ahead. I can already see one vehicle there. With any luck, the next campground is similar. Big open area, I can just choose a spot by myself and then I'm right. Let's check out the next campground. Somewhat different to Flinders Ranges National Park. This is quite a bit more rugged. Another dry riverbed. We're just making our way in the gorge to the next camping site. Or am I? Is this the end of the road? Oh no. It goes on here.
Oh, is that it? Yeah. I thought... Can we not get through to the next campsite? It looks like we can't. Oh, okay, well, that's it. I can't get through to the next campground. Well, that is a shame, because I think it's a little bit too early to camp. So I'm going to head back to the main road and head to Arkaroola. Okay, so this was interesting. Arkaroola is in the middle of nowhere, and they get a lot of tourists here and a lot of four-wheel drivers, because this is one of the few places that lets you do four-wheel driving pretty much anywhere you want. There's a lot of four-wheel driving tracks, and there's a lot of accommodation options, but they're all booked out. And not only that, but everything is geared towards tourism, so they've got so many ways of extracting money out of you. My accommodation for tonight is Chateau FJ, and at least I've got a nice view. I've got that hill behind me, right at the very end of the property, so after that little hill over there, as the track goes over the hill, that's the end of the property, so there's no more camping beyond there. This is the last bush camping spot, apart from the one where I'm standing, but hopefully there won't be any more cars coming tonight. So I'm going to set up camp and get some dinner on.
As always, thank you so very much for watching. If you like this video, let me know by clicking like and leaving a comment. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing and clicking the bell to make sure you're notified of upcoming videos. You can always support me by buying me a coffee, or choosing a monthly donation, or buying some merchandise from our website. See you in the next video.